inside the desk.
Got salary.
We kept that just as City of Sweetwater.
But we're still giving the right.
Not the whole city, but part of the city, and Patty could explain that once we get through, because she talked to the gentleman this morning. They're planning to come in part of the city, but not the whole.
They were real popular in there. They were real popular in there.
Yeah.
I think everybody in here got it.
I never planned those.
Jared does.
Oh, okay.
He's out. Hates orange. It's malfunction.
I'm not laying down yet.
There's no way I can sit in here and talk that whole time. Morning, Larry.
Morning, sir.
How are you?
Okay,
When you having your hip done?
Friday week.
Right. That hurts just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Plan on being back in the office that Monday.
Tougher name.
I figure I can hurt at the office as well as I can at home.
I had that knee replaced. I couldn't climb them stairs for about a week.
Yeah.
Got it,
Yeah.
everybody. I think hip is easier than knee, from what I understand.
There was a lady next to me, even when I had my knee replaced, and it's been quite a while, and had a hip replaced, and they had her walking that afternoon. They didn't get me out of that bed that afternoon.
He said he had most of his Dallas patients, he sends home that same day.
Really?
Wow. I don't know part of it. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of the Sweetwater Council to order. Ask Chief Madden to do the invocation this morning, and Councilman Castro is going to lead us in the pledges.
Would you pray with me? Our Heavenly Father, we humbly bow in your name, thankful for the beautiful day that you've blessed us with, for the recent rains that have helped fill our lakes and that have eased the drought. We're continually thankful for the wonders that you continually provide for us. Pray that you'll be with us during this meeting, that you'll be with the city and the business that they attend to, and all will be done in accordance with your will. Help us to be good examples of Christians to those around us, to live every day for you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please come and pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Moved up. Number 4 calls for public input. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak? Okay, we'll start the regular agenda. Item 5A. We'll now move to item 5A, which is discuss, consider, and act upon bids for fuel, oil, lubricants, products, and hot coal mix lay asphalt for use from October 2020 to September 2021. Mr. Russell.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Good morning, sir.
Get organized here. Yeah, we received a couple of bids. I believe you should have the bid tabulation sheets in your packet. I'll read these aloud. First one we'll read will be the fuel. And we've got identical pricing for both the regular and diesel, and with that being 0.5455. And keep in mind this is just for markup and delivery, and we usually get rack price on the fuel. The next, I want to
Those
read.
same folks that had the bid last year.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and the same identical pricing as last year.
Thank you.
So, the next I want to read be the oils. We had 5W20, low bid was $6.25 a gallon. We had 5W30 at $8.27 a gallon. And we had 10W30 at $5.99 a gallon. And we had the 1540 Rotella at $13 a gallon. And we sent out packages to United Oil and then also this Relodyne, which is known as Western Marketing. And they got their bid in late the day of opening, so we had to disqualify their bid. They were like 4 hours late. We looked at their pricing was higher anyways. And then the last would be the asphalt. And the LRA type D that we usually get is $86.79 per ton. And it's about $1 a ton compared to last year's price. So that's pretty good pricing. And staff would recommend that we accept the annual bids for fuel, oil, lubricants, and asphalt.
Would that go out for rock, crushed rock?
No, that's seal coat. We usually do that in February. And on the asphalt, we did send out to West Texas AGC. They requested a package, but they did not bid. So Vulcan was the only bidder on the asphalt. But yes, sir, that's during February when we go out for seal coat for the rock.
I move we accept the recommended bids.
I make a motion, a second, the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Motion carried and approved. Now move to item 5B, which is discuss, consider, and act upon approval of an ordinance amending the 2019-2020 budget. Any questions for Patty?
No, I make a motion, we approve the ordinance,
An ordinance amending?
the fiscal year 2019-2020.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Now read the ordinance into the record. An ordinance amending the ordinance approving and adopting a budget for the city of Sweetwater for the fiscal year October 1st, 2019 and ending September 30th, 2020. We'll now move to item 5C, which is discuss, consider, and approve an ordinance fixing and levying a tax FYE 2021. Any questions for Pat?
October 1, 2019, September 30, 2020.
No, that is not what was, no, that was for the amendments. So yes.
That was for the amendment. This is for the,
Amending the
I got
current
it.
year. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I move that the property
it
tax.
has to be read by the language that's in your sheet.
Okay, that's what
Got
I
it?
was reading.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate at .544 cents, which is effectively a 5.2% increase in the tax rate. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate. The tax rate will effectively be raised by 5.2% and will raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately $26.89.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Now read the ordinance into the record. An ordinance affixing a levying a tax for the tax year 2020 upon all taxable properties within the corporate limits of the city of Sweetwater, Texas. We will now hear a presentation from Ken Becker, Executive Director of Sweetwater Enterprise for Economic Development Municipal Development District, regarding overview of activities for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you say that backwards?
Probably. Many times I've had to say it this year.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to come together and really talk about some of the good, great things that's been happening over the last year. Just as a point of information, I might also tell you that, you know, SEED got started back in 1981, or 91, excuse me. And we officially closed SEED down yesterday. When we had the election, it was recommended that you go from 2 to 3 years and carry that opportunity there. We had our 3 existing board members that were still part of that. We've had no action takes place on that. We've already talked with the Attorney General's office and Comptroller's office. So our board officially closed down SEED as of yesterday and authorized Patty to transfer what small funds we still had in that account over to the MDD account. So we're now just an officially Sweetwater Enterprise for Economic Development Municipal Development District. That's how you say that. All right. So now what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about some of the things been going on this last year. And I think this picture really tells a lot about Sweetwater. We're very diverse. I mean, if you start looking at a lot of the communities around us or even in any part of the state, there's very few communities our size or even larger that are as diverse as what we are in Sweetwater, Texas, and in Nolan County. So that's kind of a big deal for us. This is just a reminder, and it kind of shows you how diverse we are. And we have manufacturing at about 12% workforce side. Agriculture is still pretty big. Energy is pretty big. Education service is pretty big. So one of the things that really helps us is that when the economy starts going south a little bit, it doesn't do that for every industry sector. So we usually have industry sectors that seem to rise as others are falling. So that gives our community a little better stance in a lot of places. In fact, our unemployment is down to about 5.7 now, and it's one of the lowest in this part of the country. In fact, Mitchell County, and this is one that we've never been able to figure out Mitchell County. They're real close to the Permian Basin stuff, but they're still over 9%. We're holding quite well. We're about 2% less than Texas and about 4% less than the United States. So we're in pretty good shape. Let's see here. There we go. Logistics, and it's a reminder that we're very heavy in logistics. There's only 7 Class A railroads in all of North America, and Sweetwater, Texas has 2 of them coming through here, along with a short line. In fact, our short line, we just did action yesterday with the incentive that Larry Locke used. He has already surpassed the car regulations that we required for him, so he's already taken care of everything he needed. He needed to do 12,000 extra cars over a 4-year period, and he's already surpassed that, so we're pretty pleased with what's going on there. We're already seeing that the road traffic numbers are starting to climb back again after the COVID and all the slowdown. So if you go out on Interstate 20, be careful, because they're pretty nuts out there again. Manufacturing is, let me go back. Manufacturing, again, is just a reminder of how big that is. We're at 12 to 13% of our working population in Nolan County is in manufacturing. That's almost twice the national average. We've got a lot of great companies, a lot of strong companies that do very well. And I think that we've talked about this before in the workforce side, but when you look at manufacturing as a whole pays better than most blue-collar jobs does. So what we kind of say is that a blue-collar job's not so blue anymore, because the reality is that most of those jobs now have a technical side of it, that even if you're working at mixing cement or making sheetrock, there's a lot of technology that has to go with that to make that happen now. Energy, and I'm going to hand out a new brochure to give you, we just had made up. Misha did a great job with it. And our energy sector is quite strong. I mean, we're pushing now over 1,300, almost 1,400 wind turbines. We're at about 2,300 megawatts. We're at 200 megawatts of solar power now. If you haven't been out there, there's 709,000 solar panels in one spot, and most of that's in Nolan County. So we think that's just a big thing. And Sweetwater has been the leader in Nolan County and in the state and the United States for that for quite a while. We've been fortunate to have been asked at different times to go to different meetings and just talk about how Sweetwater and Nolan County was able to make it work, because there's a lot of communities that it has not worked. So I think we've done a pretty good job with that. Hospitality is another thing that we sometimes discount, but you think about it, without manufacturing, without the interstate, without the Coliseum, without those type of things, we wouldn't have the number of motels we have. We have over 750 motels. We have a unique location. We have a compressed natural gas station. We have a electric plug-in at Walmart. We have a Tesla plug-in at the Holiday Inn Express. A lot of things that a lot of big cities wish they had that we're fortunate to have here in Nolan County. Workforce is one of the things that continues to be one of the biggest things, and what we're trying to do is that when you look at manufacturing, oil and gas, and wind, if we don't find a way to prepare a better pipeline of employees coming out of our school systems into this workforce, it's going to be tougher for those companies to expand. It doesn't mean we would lose them by no means, so we've been working really hard, and as part, and I'll touch on it in my next talk on the budget, but we're going to be doing a new website, and part of that website is a section called Workforce IQ. And Workforce IQ is going to give us some up-to-minute data that's going to help us to work with our school systems and help kids understand what jobs are really good out there and what kind of pay scales and what kind of training is needed for those. So those are really big things for us. Sense of place, that's kind of what the MDD was all about, is taking economic development and just adding another sector to it. So you take the sense of place, you see the Mustang Harbor. Been a lot of fun driving by there and seeing the smiling faces on these kids having an opportunity to do something like this. So it's really great that between the city and SEED that we're able to partner to put programs like this. We're also looking at working on over the next several years of upgrading some of the equipment, working with Russell and what they recommend in our park system. Housing has been another one of those things that the MDD was able to do. Our developer, Jerry McDowell, has already built 5 houses. All 5 of them are sold. He's getting ready to start the 6th one. So that's a great thing. We've also had a couple other custom homes built in Sweetwater. And I think one of the things that we're showing, and I think it's because of the MDD and because of the city's willingness to go into this, we had a lot of people that were naysayers that said this market wouldn't happen. It wasn't needed here. Well, I think what we've done is we've proved that there is a need here. And I think we've knocked over the first couple dominoes, and I think people are starting to see that there's other opportunities out there. In fact, there's actually 2 pieces of property that everybody's wished would be on the market for quite some time that hadn't been. All of a sudden now, the Macbeth property out on Highway 70 or Haley Street is now on the market. So that's a pretty good place. The developer could build some homes right here in Sweetwater. So we think it's a really good opportunity. We did, and in fact, I think at the last meeting you approved Jose Villafranco is going to be building 3 patio homes over on Skinny Drive. So I think we're just seeing more and more interest because we've proven that there is a market there. The Oaks apartment, that's been a really interesting project. We had 2 local families buy the apartment. We're incentivizing them. They've already done 20 of the 80 units. And the way our structure was that they get so much per apartment, but then at every 25% they get another amount of money that helps them in the outside and cleaning up stuff. They've already got 5 people on a waiting list right now for apartments that will be done in October, November, and December. And it seems like it very seldom ever goes under the number 5. Once they get somebody in it, there's always somebody else adding to that really likes that. And they've really done a great job of remodeling those apartments and really in a quality way. Sutherland's is another one of those things that we've talked about over time. We did a 380 and 381 agreements, and it's been a really, really good thing. If you look at, combination of they were opening when COVID was happening, and if we remember back a couple of years ago when we started talking about Sutherland's, we put them in or helped them get into a building that we knew that was vacant and was actually becoming dilapidated, so they not only improved that, and that was also at our front door. We really wanted that, but what we also thought was that this will take an opportunity for a company to come in and create a market where a lot of that marketplace was taking place in Abilene. Talking with both Sutherland's and Higginbotham, they're both pleased with the activity level that they have right now. In fact, Ray at Higginbotham is telling me that he's meeting every one of his targets on a monthly basis. So he's pretty happy with what they've done. They've been able to take a look at things, and I think sometimes as we talk about competition, it's not a bad thing. It makes you look at what you do and how you might be able to do it better. The facade program has kind of taken off slower than we had hoped. But what we've talked about over the last couple of years is at some point we want to maybe expand that. And so what we've done now, and the board approved it, is to move into our corridor systems where we'll be on Broadway, Lamar Street, Elm Street, and Haley Street. And those will be another area outside of the 9 blocks in the downtown area. We don't have a lot of money we're putting at that, but the board wants to kind of experiment and put that out there, and we hope that, in fact, I know I've got one restaurant on Haley Street that I'm already talking with that may have some interest in doing some things. And it's a great way for curb appeal to really make our community look that much better. Kind of the over and above, and really Dana ought to be the one that stands up here to talk about this. We've been kind of the partner behind the scenes, but the reality is that there's a lot of, I think, Dana, is it 20-some property? 22 properties have already been demolished in our community. And the good thing is the city has done a larger percent of them. SEED has done some funding on part of them, and we actually had 2 homeowners or 2 owners took care of it themselves once they got the letter. So we just, again, think that that's something that's started slowly, really taken on some steam, and we really think that that's going to be a good project that will continue to go on. The internet connectivity, our board's really talked a lot about that, and in fact, I see on your agenda you'll be talking a little bit about that with the Taylor Electric. And there's a group called Connect Texas, and it's part of Connected Nation. And what they're trying to do is go out and map the whole United States on the connectivity side. And one of the things that we got from them for Nolan County is that when you look at Nolan County as a county, we're actually connected fairly well. When you start looking at the maps, then you find out that most of that is within Sweetwater proper, and the outlaying areas are what's a little tougher. And Zach would probably have to tell us what this really means, but the federal guidelines is that 25 megabytes download and 3 megabytes upload is what is considered kind of a baseline. If you're below that, you need help. If you're above that, you're better than most. We're just in that ranking, we're 80% of our county is covered with that. Now, those are households, but it also says we have 1,100 households that don't have that. But we also, when you go back up even higher, and you get back up into the 100 up and 10 down, we're actually at 76% of households covered. So we're in good shape, not where we'd want to be, but we're a lot better than a lot. In fact, they was telling me that around the San Antonio area, if you just get outside of San Antonio proper, we're in much better shape than most of those communities around them. So again, Sweetwater's kind of ahead of the curve in a lot of things, but we also want to take a look at that, because one of the things that, going back to the workforce side, is that to get a prepared workforce and create a pipeline, we have to have kids that are educated in our system. With COVID, I think we found that there's a number of households that don't have internet, and it's been tough for them to do things in the schoolwork. And I think one of the things we have to take a self-portrait of and look at is that there's 2 reasons why they don't have internet. Some of them truly can't afford it, and then you have some that choose not to spend the money on that and spend their money someplace else. So it's not always just because they can't afford it. Sometimes it's a choice. And how do we make that more important and a priority? Because if we don't take care of our students and kids in their school years, we'll be taking care of them the rest of their lives. And statistics show that. So we have to do a better job as a community, working with our school districts, working with the county and the city and all the groups, coming together to figure out how can we do a better job of making connectivity more of a standard thing instead of an option. I think that's the end of that particular one.
Thank you, Ken.
You bet, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, we'll now move to item 5E, which is discuss, consider, and act upon approval of Sweetwater Enterprise for Economic Development, Municipal Development District budget for 2020-21. Any questions for Ken?
Ken, are there any significant changes?
Yeah, a couple of, the main changes, we've cut back a little bit on our travel. We've increased our lease payment to the Chamber of Commerce. We haven't touched that in a long time, and really being a little bit unfair to them. I've proposed to promote Misha instead of assistant. I'm making her director of marketing and administrative services. And then the increase will be on the website side, by $15,000 on it. But overall, we're sitting at about, when you look at our expense versus potential income, spending operation-wise about 35–36%. So we're about 1/3, and that gives us 2/3 of our income each year to be able to put out incentives.
Can you expound upon the website improvements that you're talking about?
Well, our website's pretty old. We did it a number of years ago, and you know, I'm probably a poor person to talk about, a gray-haired guy that barely knows how to operate this thing. But what they tell me is the back end of it is what's really important, and it's the people that take care of that. And the stuff that we have now on our website has to go through a process with someone else, and they have to rebuild all this stuff. Where the new one will have a person that will actually train Misha, and then she'll be able to take care of most of that. But we think the workforce IQ is going to be the biggest thing, because right now we've been using a group out of Lubbock and to try to get more updated data on unemployment and employability and all those things. And that was kind of at their discretion when they'd give it to us, and sometimes we wouldn't get it. And we're finding that the website is your front door, and we work with companies that have already looked at our website before they talk to us. So we need to have the most up-to-date information we possibly can, and some of these new features are going to be able to actually increase that information and update that information without us actually going in and do it. It'll just do it automatically. So we think that's a big piece of what we do in promoting our community is that website.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion. Second.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioners.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, we'll now move to item 5F, which is discuss, consider, and act upon the appointment of 3 board members to the Sweetwater Enterprise for Economic Development Municipal Development District, with terms expiring September 30th, 2022. Yes. No. You have anybody wanna?
Mr. Mayor, we have, I guess, 3 existing board members who are eligible for reappointment. Have all of them agreed that they would serve if they were reappointed?
Yes, sir.
Well, I move that we reappoint for a 2-year term Carolyn Lawrence, Joseph Crouch, and Gil Cherry.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Now move to item 5G, which is discuss, consider, and act upon an ordinance to amend and repeal the City of Sweetwater Code of Ordinances, Chapter 13, Garbage and Trash, to provide for outsourcing of solid waste management service to private entity. Mr. Dana.
Mayor and Council, this is taking our current Chapter 13 entitled Garbage and Trash Ordinance, taking some provisions out and putting some provisions in, creating a Chapter 13 Solid Waste Ordinance in its place. What you have in your materials really basically in summary is this ordinance will allow for outsourcing of solid waste management services for residential refuse, commercial refuse collection, and our industrial roll-off program, our SET program. It does now give that authorization, if it is approved today, that on October 1st, Republic Services will start as the privatized entity. They will be able to provide that service here in the City of Sweetwater. In the ordinance, we have some specifics regarding the City of Sweetwater. We have a recycling center, we have a landfill. We will certainly continue to operate those, and we've reflected that in the ordinance there, where citizens can take their waste to the landfill. They can also take it to the recycling center, and the provisions are all set up in here to do so. The sections, we have some terms and definitions, just basic terms and definitions. Then we've allowed for private collection through outsourcing. We have two sections, one on residential collection and one on commercial collection, that basically establishes the rules. For instance, the residential collection, there's some rules as to when the cart is pushed to the curb and when it has to come back to the house. That is in this ordinance. Also, when you get into the rates and charges, we've identified that as the central rate schedule dictates that, rather than having it in the ordinance itself. So we have tailored it, we've updated it, we've removed some provisions that are very outdated. We will not allow burial of waste in backyards anymore, and we eliminated burning on residential properties. We worked with Chief on some of those. So this is a very up-to-date ordinance. We have had our special counsel look at this as well, and Republic Services has had a shot at this too, and everybody's in agreement to move forward with this draft that you'll be considering today. So I present it to you for your consideration. I believe that we've taken care of everything, and this is really the final action by the City Council to allow for the outsourcing of the programs in the City of Sweetwater.
This will be effective October 1.
Yes, yes.
I make a motion we accept the recommendation of the ordinance to amend and repeal the Code of Ordinance.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Now read the ordinance into the record. An ordinance amending and repealing Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Sweetwater, Texas, entitled Garbage and Trash, and creating Chapter 13 Solid Waste with Article 1 General Provisions, Article 2 Private Collectors, Article 3 Rates and Charges, Article 4 Residential Collection, Article 5 Commercial Collection, Article 6 Authority and Enforcement Provisions, and establishing an effective date. We'll now move to item 5H, which is discuss, consider, and approve change order number 1 for the construction contract with Roberts Construction for the Texas Water Development Board and Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Water Line Improvement Project contingent upon agency concurrence. Mr. Savage.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. In your packet, you will find the proposed change order. This is a quantity reconciliation change order. Contractor has completed the project, and this change order will balance the quantities in the contract. If you'll look at page 2, it has a balance there of the quantities, and some were slightly over and some were slightly below. The major difference there, or the most significant difference, is additional pavement replacement that had to be done. There was a section of water line that was proposed to be out of the pavement because of conflicts with other utilities. They had to be brought back into the pavement. So there's about 500 feet there of additional pavement that had to be replaced. So the pluses and the minuses equate to an additional $26,354.90. That is an increase of about 4.8% on the original contract, with a final construction total of $569,297.90. We recommend approval of this change order at this time based upon funding agency concurrence. And if approved, then we will proceed with all of the closeout documents and most likely have on the next council agenda acceptance of the final project.
I move we accept the change order.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. We'll now move to item 5I, which is discuss, consider, and act upon approval of a resolution adopting the Texas Coalition for Affordable Power Professional Service Agreement and GEAX Energy Commercial Electric Service Agreement for power to be provided on and after January 1st, 2023. Yes, ma'am.
We have a PowerPoint for this, don't we? Yes.
Yes. Mayor, City Council, thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you this morning about our new purchasing program. The City of Sweetwater has been a member of TCAP since its beginning in 2002, and we appreciate you sticking with us. So I'm going to talk to you this morning real briefly about our new way of purchasing energy to help you all save some more money. So basically, who is TCAP? We have 166 members in the ERCOT area. You can see we have 11 members here in the West Zone. Our board is made up of 15 members, and when it says large, medium, and small, that's based on how many kilowatts are purchased each year. For the West Zone, you all are represented by the city manager of Odessa, who is on the board, and also the city manager of Wichita Falls is on our board. But our board is made up of city managers, city attorneys, finance directors, and we actually have a mayor and a city council member that's also on our board. Basically, this is just a background. Again, the deregulated market where you got to choose your energy provider began in 2002. We had 2 groups in Texas. One was called the Cities Aggregation Power Project. The other was the South Texas Aggregation Project. Sweetwater was a founding member of the Cities Aggregation Project. The 2 groups used the same consultants, same general counsel, and merged in 2011 for efficiencies, which is how we got to TCAP. I'm pushing. Oops. Why TCAP? We're a nonprofit organization. We pool all of our members' energy together and go out into the wholesale market to purchase electricity. So we're going out into the market with about little less than 1.2 billion kilowatts to buy an electric contract for all of our members. This chart just real briefly shows you the red line is a typical day in ERCOT, the entire ERCOT load use. And you can see starting on the left-hand side, that's the midnight hour. And you can see that the blue line, which is TCAP, that's our usage. And you can see that we're above TCAP, or we're above ERCOT in the overnight hours, and we're below ERCOT in the daytime hours. The reason for that is most cities are using pumping stations, wastewater treatment facilities, street lights overnight. Because we are off, we don't follow the ERCOT grid, when we go out into the market, we show that to the wholesalers. And they want our business because they're able to buy power than when we need it in the overnight hours, which helps to keep our prices even lower. Your current contract that you're under is a 5-year contract. It ends in December of 2022. But we've developed this new procurement method that should eliminate the timing of the market to get the best price and also to help keep your prices lower for your energy buy. Real briefly, the reason we're coming to you and the reason we're changing our procurement method is because over the last 5 or 6 years, you know, the U.S. Department of Energy has a very positive supply outlook for natural gas and crude oil, and also very stable prices out through 2050. And it's because we've become the world's largest producer of oil and natural gas that this trend started in the electricity market, which should be the next slide. Okay. So these are illustrative prices. They're not the current prices. Just I get that question asked a lot. What we found is because we have such a well-supplied market, what happens is about 2 years forward from today, energy prices drop to their lowest point. You can see that is represented in 2021. It drops. And the reason for that is that in the short term, the market's reacting to whatever is going on at the time. Right now, it's reacting to COVID. Last year, it was reacting to the ERCOT reserve margin being very low. But the market pretty much figures that in about 2 years, everything will be back to normal, that we'll be out of this little problem, and prices dip. When you start going out further than that, what you see are prices are going up. And the reason for that is no one's quite sure what the market will do in those out years. So what happens is they start adding price premiums. They want to make sure that their costs are covered in those out years, that they haven't given a contract away, you know, too low of a price. When we have gotten 5-year contracts, what we're actually doing is getting 5 one-year contracts and averaging the price out for you for those 5 years. So even though the 5-year contract gets some of those lower prices on the front end, you're also getting those higher prices on the back end. So what we're coming to you, because this pattern has been consistent over the last 5 years, we're recommending or suggesting that we go out and we buy 1-year contracts at a time and do it for 5 years. Just keep rolling it forward. What that does is it keeps us in that low dip and it eliminates all those price premiums in those out years. And the reason is because the other thing about the market, maybe point it somewhere, there it is. The market prices change daily. So when you get an electricity contract, you have to sign it that day, or the next day the prices are no good. And the blue lines here represent all of the different prices in a year. And you can see in 2011, 18, and 19, they were all over the place. But when you look at the average price over the entire year, that's the red line. And you can see that's a little more stable, a little more straight. And so one of the problems has always been trying to find that one perfect day to buy an electricity contract when you're like, okay, we think it's gone as low as it's going to go. You know, and then inevitably a month later it may go lower. And so, you know, we're trying to find the best time to get pricing. So this new procurement plan, what we're actually going to be doing is buying electricity every month of the year. So we'll be able to take advantage of those low prices as well. Oops. So what we're doing is we're going to be going out every month with ultra-competitive RFP processes. We're going to have, it avoids that all-in guess of trying to find the best date to purchase electricity. It's also going to mitigate price risk. We're going to go out there with the RFP. The credit-worthy suppliers are going to be competing against themselves, so we think that's also going to keep the prices low. So you're going to know your price, even though it's going to change annually, unlike what you have right now, one price for 5 years. We're going to, and the next slide talks about the calendar, you're going to know your price before your budget season. So you're going to know what your annual energy cost is before your budget season starts. So there's not going to be this, we don't know what it is. You'll know that. The other thing is that in our last contract, not this contract, but our last one, we were tied into a long-term contract, and fracking happened, and the price fell out of the energy market. We weren't able to take advantage of that because we were locked into a contract. By doing it this way, if the energy market changes again for the positive, lower prices, we'll be able to take advantage of that. We won't be locked in for this long-term contract, having to wait for it to expire before we can get back into the energy market. The other thing is, if the energy market turns the other direction, we're going to be the first to come back to you and say, it's turning, we see it, we're going to lock you in now, we're going to get you a 3 or 5 year contract and lock you in. We're not going to allow your budgets to get, out of control. The other thing is, this contract will also be purchasing renewable energy credits, so it will be an all renewable contract as well. So here's the timeline. What we're going to do is start purchasing energy monthly through 2021. We'll come back to all of our members in March of 22 and tell you what your 23 price is. In 22, we'll start buying for 24. And in 23, we'll start buying for 25. And again, in March, you'll know what your price is. If for some reason you decide you want to, do this purchasing program, and for whatever reason you don't like it, or you just decide, it's not for me, we're offering basically what we're called off-ramps in June and December. You just come to us in June or December and go, this just doesn't work like we thought it would, or, we just changed our mind, and we'll convert you to a fixed contract. No penalties, we'll just do it for you. And so it really allows a lot more flexibility and options than we've ever had before in our contracts. So we went back and we looked at, we can't predict prices going forward, but we thought, well, let's go back. We have actual prices. And so we we built the program looking back at actual prices starting in 2016. The green line represents your current price. The red lines represent what the new, what we're calling SHP price would have been. You can see in 2018, you would have saved an additional $8,800 that year. In 2019, would have saved an additional $32,000. And in 20, you would have saved $21,000. Again, it's because we're not locking into that long-term contract, and those price premiums in those long-term contracts go away. And so that's where a lot of the savings is coming from. Again, just recap, our energy future looks bright. It's a unique opportunity, this program, for our members. It's structured to buy when prices are advantageous. It avoids your all-in guess of trying to figure it out when the best time of the market is. It also avoids those carrying charges. You're gonna know your future price before you're budgeting. And again, it allows some flexibility, and you can convert it to a fixed price, or we can convert it to a fixed price if we see that the market's not going the way we think it's gonna go. And now I will open it up for any questions.
Patty, are you comfortable with this?
Yeah, I am. I felt really good about the flexibility. I mean, we can go back to 5-year contract again if we need to. We've always had a really good rate, no matter what, with TCAP compared to others. But this looks like we could actually save some more money.
But it makes sense. I guess in my mind, the only danger is if you have that very, very sharp spike, and war in the Mideast, Joe Biden. That's the scary thing about this is that if you have that sharp increase, that 5-year lock-in may be too late. But otherwise, it looks like a pretty good deal.
I was trying to go back to the calendar, which apparently, Okay. So the other thing is we're going to be going out monthly for RFPs. If we, for some reason, see some weird anomaly, if for some reason we'll be buying in 21, so the election won't be, prices spike for a month. They did that last summer in August. Prices spiked outrageously because of the low reserve margin in ERCOT. We would skip that month and not purchase energy, and then we would just double up the next month. So again, that gives us some flexibility to get over those anomalies that may just, because again, last year in 2019, August, you did not want to buy energy in August. But then by the time you got back into September, it was back to normal. It was a little better. So we have that. Again, we haven't, it's not me, I'm not watching the energy market. We do have a consultant that watches our energy market for us. He was telling our board, I want to say in May, to watch out for August. He saw the August spike coming. So, we do have an expert that we use that, gives the board a heads up a little bit. And so, they're going to be watching it. They're in the market every day. They can see some trends coming. And so we may not be able to lock in that case, in a 5-year contract, but we may be able to get a short 1-year contract to get us over the hump and then move back into either this process or then buy the longer term contract.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried and approved. Now read the resolution into the record. Resolution of the City of Sweetwater, Texas, adopting TCAP's professional service agreement and GEXA Energy Commercial Electric Service Agreement for power to be provided on it after January 1st, 2023. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now move to item 5J, which is discuss, consider, and act upon approval of an ordinance granting Taylor Electric Cooperative, Inc. the right, privilege, and franchise to provide internet service within the City of Sweetwater Lake area.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
How you
sir.
doing?
I don't have your name on here.
My name's Kyle Haspel, and I'm with Taylor Electric.
Okay.
Apologize, we were working on a time schedule, and she called me this morning and said it was at 9, so I did everything I could to be here in time in case there were any questions.
Do we have any questions?
What we're doing is taking broadband internet out to the lake area. We can actually serve everything on the other side of I-20, and at some point we plan to take that to all our members. We're doing true fiber internet to the home. Kim was talking about some internet stuff earlier. Our slowest rate is actually 100 megs up and 100 megs down.
How does
So
that compare to Southern Lake?
blows it away. No, not even a.
Because I'm outside
We can take care. We can take care of you. It's once we get it to all our members. Like I said, we go. We've got 3 packages right now. We've got 100 megs up and down. All our speeds are symmetrical, and what we're doing is we basically have 3 packages for our members, and it's all unlimited data. They use as much as they want. But our 100 megs up and 100 megs up and 100 megs down for our members is $39.95, and there's not anything comparable out there to that. We supply the router and the installation's free for our folks.
I'd like to talk to you after the
Okay. We go all the way up to a full 1 gig up and down.
Yours is fiber, right?
Yes, sir. It's fiber to the home, so we don't use a copper line anywhere. Fastest internet connection out there today.
Does the fiber have the downtime like Southern Lake does?
No, sir. What they're getting is congestion on there. The only time we really have a congestion if you're trying to stream like Netflix. It's on Netflix side. Their server's not big enough to handle all the people in there, so there'll be a little bit of a buffer in there, but that's on their side. I updated my phone. I live out by Coronados Camp and got it just a few months ago. But last week I went to update my phone. It took 4 minutes to update my phone.
That's pretty quick. Usually you have to plug your phone in and set it on the charger, and then in the morning you check it and see if it finished.
Any questions?
Well, I guess I had a question, really about the ordinance, cause it, nowhere does it specifically mention Lake Sweetwater. You know, mentions, the city of Sweetwater. Do we have any problems with that, Patty, or?
No, I think we didn't wanna just specifically say Lake Sweetwater because, Mr. Haspel said we could go all the way on the other side of I-20, and which could be, as Mr. McKenzie said, it could be him, it could be Big Boys, it could be Bucks, I mean, all that.
Sutherland's, all that is in our territory to be able to serve.
Right.
It's not just the lake, it's.
No, and that's what we were doing, is the inside the Sweetwater area, and then we'd do a different one for all of Nolan County. But Sweetwater, Sweetwater Lake would be part of y'all's, and it has been for electrical. And that's why we did it that way. It'd be just like the electrical.
New housing, yes.
Yeah, that new housing addition that's on the south side of the road, they're serving that, and that'll be a great addition. We've already had some calls on that, so.
I'm working on that real hard.
Well, there's no problems with the wording of the ordinance. I think it would be a great thing, and I hope you go on a little south of Lake Sweetwater to Bitter Creek Road.
I'll do everything I can.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now read the ordinance into the record. An ordinance granting Taylor Electric Cooperative, Inc., a non-exclusive franchise to utilize the public right-of-way for broadband internet service facilities to the city of Sweetwater, Texas, and provide for the payment of a fee or charge for the use of the public right-of-way. Adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank y'all very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.